What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. Today, I have my former teammate, my longtime friend, Jarrett Ferguson in the building, here to talk about his spotlight. You know, for those that don't know or remember, Jarrett was a fullback, a position that is rarely used now in football. But one of my favorite teammates, a physical player, intelligent, high IQ, and a great leader and a better man. So I'm happy you're on the show, Jarrett. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, brother. It's great just for my eyes to flicker open again and get another opportunity. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to talking to you today.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I am too, man. And I had Marcus and Ken Oxendine,
Mm-hmm.
and a few weeks ago, and they were on the show, and they talked about the Stallions. You know, that's the old school
Yeah.
thing, the running backs and fullbacks, the Stallions, and being in that position at Virginia Tech. But before we talk about the brotherhood and playing at Virginia Tech, a lot of people don't realize, man, you know, you had to kind of come through and earn everything you got. Let's go back to where you from, your childhood, and growing up, and how did you become so naturally strong and physical, man? Where'd you grow up at, and where'd you play your ball at?
Well, a lot of people don't know that I actually grew up in Tidewater. I was born in Portsmouth, and we lived in Norfolk, and then we moved to Virginia Beach. And then my parents got a divorce, so we moved up to the country. I'm in a little small town called Goodview, Virginia. It's right outside of Roanoke. So I call it paradise. Is really nothing around here. Just farmland. We have Smith Mountain Lake, and I grew up in this area, and it was a big change for me as far as leaving Virginia Beach to come to Goodview, because in Virginia Beach, we locked the doors and locked the cars up and everything. And up here, no one locked their doors, left keys in the cars and all that other stuff. So it took me some time to get adjusted to when I first moved up here. And I love every minute of it. I'm actually back here now in Goodview living, and it's been great. I hurt my knee. We moved up here. I was in 7th grade, and I was playing football out with my cousins in the yard, and I fell and hurt my knee. Well, went to the doctor. Doctor pretty much said, you have to set out of football. You can't play. So I didn't play my 7th and 8th grade year here. And I went to Stern River Middle School. And so I decided to ran track, and kind of made a name for myself there.
What'd you run? What, 100, 200?
Oh, man, look, I ran everything. I ran 100, 200, ran the 4x1, 4x4. I did long and triple jump, and I threw the shot and discus. So my coach kind of picked and choose what I did every week, but I had 7 events every week. And so that's kind of how I made a name for myself, and kind of went through and really worked at it. Like when I lived in Virginia Beach, I played offensive line. so I was a center, and I was a nose guard, and then my body changed. When I hit puberty, I started getting abs and all this other stuff, and I started looking different. And then coaches was like, I got up here. I was like, I think I want to play running back. And so in 9th grade, my mom allowed me to play football again. And, nobody really knew except I was just fast and didn't know how I could play football or anything. So we had a scrimmage, and we played Alta Vista. And this was a JV team, and coach kind of threw me in the game. I had 2 carries for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Carries?
Yeah, that's all I got. And so I just remember telling them, I played with my cousins. I had 3 cousins on the football team. And I was like, look, they kind of have everybody established. I just want to get in here and make a name and go about my business. And they put me in, 2 carries. I ran 2 70-yard touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. And then they pulled me out. The coach said, that's all I need to see. And then it was kind of from there on, I was the guy. I had another guy that he passed away some years back, but we were the tailbacks. And we played like a wing back or a wishbone offense at that time. And we were both the running backs. And, man, we just kind of tore it up through high school and kind of built up the program, and our school was kind of known for not having athletes and all that stuff. And we kind of kickstarted the program and got people out to play, made a more positive outlook for our program and as far as football, and we had some success. We started off in JV, went 6-2. I played varsity the next year. We went 2-8. They were 0-10 the year before. Then we kind of gradually built up until senior year. We went like 10-2, and then we won some state championships in track, and kind of built the program up. And so my deal was let's get our friends that are walking around school that look like athletes. Let's get them out there and play with us so we can have somebody to play with and have some success. So that's kind of how it was, and we did. We got some guys out there that I think they had like the biggest turnouts to come out for football in the history of the school. And so, you know, day one of camp, we had 100 and some kids out there, and the coach was like, man, this is the best thing I ever seen. And it kind of went on from there. So you just kind of, I wanted to make everybody else around me. I didn't say too much. I just wanted the people to come around and be around and have some success and do the things that they always talked about doing. So that was my deal.
You know, it's funny, man. You said 2 carries for 140 yards. And I played with you a few years at Tech, and that was your story at Tech. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second, though. I mean, you get that little dive play anyway, because we're going to talk about that great game you had at Syracuse and many other games. But I get excited because you had a great career. But it's funny, too, because I love doing these legacy spotlights. I've done so many guys that we played with and guys that played, you know, after us. And you always find out something. I forgot that you were from the 757 originally. Yeah. I completely forgot that. I'm sure Shyrone and them, will remind me. You're like an honorary member. That had to be a drastic change coming from Portsmouth and Virginia Beach to Goodview. That's a drastic change.
Yeah, it's we lived in Ocean Lakes, and so that's where, you know, I lived in Ocean Lakes, and then when we moved, I used to come in the summertime and stay with my grandparents. On my mom's side, they lived in Goodview, and then on my dad's side, they lived in Rocky Gap, and that's like right on the state line of West Virginia and Virginia, like near Bluefield. And so I would go there every summer and stay a week at my paternal grandparents, and then go stay with my paternal grandparents in Rocky Gap every summer. So it was really different because in Rocky Gap they had one television channel, and so that was it.
Hold on. What year was this?
This was what, late 80s, early 90s.
And one channel?
One channel, and that was it. And then I always managed to go the week they had Wimbledon or something on, and all you saw was tennis. So yeah, I spent a lot of time. I learned how to drive a tractor. I drove trucks. I mean, I'm like 10, 11 years old and driving. So I did a lot of different things, trout fished and all that other stuff, because there was nothing else. You couldn't watch TV. There was nothing up there.
No doubt, man. No, so when you were playing, you know, a lot of guys I've talked to that play basketball and football and even track in high school, compared to the kids now who are like, hey, I'm trying to get these offers. I've noticed that I've done these legacy spotlights. Many guys and women that I've talked to were just in the moment, and they were just playing and having fun and just enjoying their teammates and the brotherhood and sisterhood. For you, was it the same? Did you ever think, okay, I'm starting to have an impact and you know, I'm going to go to the next level? Were you just like, you know, when I'm just playing high school ball, like, did you ever say, okay, I think I want to do this in college? You know, you were near Virginia Tech. Did you think about, this is what I'm going to do? Or were you just kind of one of those kids like a lot of us, just playing?
Well, you know, I always had my goal was to go to college and play, just because in my intermediate family, you know, my mom went to school for a couple of years and then she never finished college. But she always pushed us like, hey, look, I want you guys to go to college and be successful and go in. And she was hard on us as well. So it was like, I couldn't make if I had an A, I couldn't make a B, because the standard is the A. And so I had to do this part. But then when I had some success on the field, I said, oh, you know what? I think I can do this on the next level. But it didn't consume me. I didn't want to say this is all I have to think about, football, and that's it. I wanted to go out there and have a good time and just play. And so it's nothing like it is now. Because I tell the kids now, hey, look, there's plenty of times of the business part of it where you want to go bust your tail and work, but enjoy high school because you're not coming back. You're going forward and keep going. And it is plenty of times to really focus on that point. But that's how I thought about it in high school. It was like, man, I'm in the moment. Let's go do this, have a good time and play. And that's what I was all about. And it worked out because, I met you guys and all that other good stuff. And so that's how it was, man. I just wanted to play and have a good time.
No doubt. And speaking of that, you talking about meeting us. How did the whole thing come about at Virginia Tech? I mean, were there other schools interested? Did you have offers from smaller schools, or, because everybody's journey to a university is different. Some guys are highly recruited. Some guys, the coach of the school they want to go to gets let go, so they end up, Virginia Tech was their backup plan. That's fine. But for Jarrett Ferguson, what was your journey in making your decision? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I told you, this is a small school, not a good reputation of winning or producing athletes, and I basically had to. Dwight, you know how you used to get those questionnaires? I basically had to lie to get them to come look at me.
Really?
And so it was. I'm 5'8". My senior year in high school, I was 165 pounds, and so on my questionnaire, I might have smudged the numbers a little bit. I was 6 foot 200 pounds on the questionnaire to get them jokers to come in the door and look at me. And so I said, if I could just get them to come in and watch me, then they'll see that I have some ability and I can play on this level. The offers that I received were Richmond, University of Richmond, and JMU, and then VMI. And then I had some Ivy League schools come along as well toward the end. But Virginia Tech always came and said, hey, look, we just don't have a scholarship. We would like for you to walk on. And so me being in our situation at the time, my mom was a single parent. She was working 2-3 jobs. I was going to take the scholarship. And so I first committed or tried to commit to Richmond. And so they pretty much backed out on me. They just said, wow, look, we don't have the scholarship anymore. They backed out. So my next deal was to go to JMU because I had 2 cousins that went there as well. And the same thing happened. So JMU backed out. I think they gave it to, if you remember, what's his name? Keaton. They're running back. I think they gave this guy, they were talking about the scholarship situation. I think he got the scholarship because he committed before, and I lost that on that deal. Well, I went to VMI, and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm not going to make it here.
Yeah, man. So, that's for another spotlight. That's not for everybody. That's
and so my only option at that point was, I truly thought, man, if I walk on Virginia Tech, I truly feel I can play there. And so I did. I called Coach Bustle and told him what I was planning to do, and he really was, he thought it was great. He's like, man, this is great. You're really gonna have a shot. He's like, just come here and work your tail off, and you can earn a scholarship. Well, that's what I needed to hear, just for the motivation part of it, just because I know, look, we really can't afford this. We can't afford to go here, but I'll give myself a year, and if it doesn't work out, man, I was prepared to come back home and go to community college and go on about my life. And so it did it. I went there when I came to Virginia Tech, and I don't know if you want me to go into this now, but
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I went to Virginia Tech, Coach West told me in a camp he wanted me to play defensive back. And so that's what I thought coming in the door. I was going to be a defensive back.
Wait a minute. Hold on, man. What in the world? Wait a minute. What is this, 95? This is 95, right?
This is 97 when I came in the door. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. So they talking about you gonna play. 'Cause I'm trying to get the time frame. Coach
Yeah.
West, and they
Mm-hmm.
talking about you playing DB.
When I came out, I went. You remember they used to have like the little 3 and 4 day camps there at Tech in the
Yes,
summertime.
yes, yeah.
So my coach told me I had to go to the offense and defensive session. And usually if you just go to one, you get to go to the swimming pool at War and all that other stuff on the second part of it. But my coach made me stay for both parts, and so I played offense and defense that day. Well, on the defensive day, I made a bunch of interceptions and stuff. And so Coach West was like, we're really going to take a look at your film. I think, you're going to come here and play this. And so I was like, all right, that's what I'm thinking. Not even playing a bunch of defense in high school. And so when I got there, Coach Hite said, hey, look, I know that we said this, but do you want to play on offense? And I was like, yes, sir. I want to play on offense. That's just because that's my mentality. That's what I always played.
Well, look, let me stop you there because
Mm-hmm.
I remember when you first got there. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say Melendez's wife, Linnell, and you, or Melendez, you have a relationship, right? You had a relationship as far as y'all are related or close or family or?
Man, everybody knows that her family's from this area. And so I think my mother and her family all knew each other. So they kept telling me when I went to school that she was there and told me to link up with her. And she just kind of like big sister kind of looked out for me.
Yeah. And Linnell
mm-hmm.
and Melendez, when you got there, before I met you,
mm-hmm.
The young guys report first, and then the older guys, we come to camp later. They said, hey, look out, for my fam, Jarrett Ferguson. I was like,
mm-hmm.
who is Jarrett? The funny thing about it is, as you guys got to camp, the young guys, the freshmen, incoming class, I
mm-hmm.
heard about you.
Mm-hmm.
Other people were telling me, say, hey, man, there's this dude. He's a walk-on, and he's smacking dudes. That's the clean
mm-hmm.
version. That's the clean version. They were telling me, you got to come see him. You were killing it when you first got there. You remember that?
Well,
physical and
I had to because to me this was my audition, and so it was like, here's my shot. And then and Dwight, if you remember, I gained weight to get to Tech, and I got up to 180 pounds, and I thought I was the man when I walked in there. And so and then Tyron Edmonds let me know that I wasn't the man when camp started, because I remember just I was hitting people and I felt good, and then I hit Tyron, and he about knocked me out. And I told him, I remember I told my mom that night, I was like, I don't know, Mom. I said, this boy's a little different over here. So I just remember, I need to get to work, and I had to get enough. I had to build my body up to withstand the hits and stuff like that, just because I wasn't big enough when they put me in at fullback.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing. I knew I had to change my body, and then that's where Coach Gentry came into play.
Yeah, and you had an impact once you did change your body. One thing I joked about earlier, but I was being somewhat serious as well, about your position at the time in the 90s and the early 2000s. The fullback position was still an integral part of college and pro football and even high school football. But with the evolution of offenses to the spread and all the different things you see now, it's used differently to the point where it's almost non-existent. There are a few teams across the board that still use the fullback. You came to Virginia Tech. I mentioned the Stallions, the fraternity of running backs that Coach Hite and you guys established for years at Virginia Tech. You came behind some really good fullbacks, and Brian Edmonds, God rest his soul, aka Poons. Then there was touchdown Tommy Edwards, who was a running back, fullback type guy, and then you had Marcus Parker, who everyone knows was a running back, but they used him in that fullback position. And then you and Cullen Hawkins and guys like that came in. What was it like for you to be part of that legacy? Did you remember following those guys and watching them, and what kind of impact did they have on your career at Tech?
Well, those guys that's who I watched film on. I watched Brian Edmonds. I watched Marcus Parker's film to to give me some insight on how to play the position. And so I looked at Marcus Parker off the bat because he was kind of in a similar role as far as being a running back / fullback and being able to carry the ball and stuff. And I was in that same position because, I mean, if you look at it, Shyrone and those, they weighed more than I did, and I was a fullback. And so I was trying to figure out ways, how can I get an advantage? I had to know every step that linebacker was going to take. If he blinked the wrong way, he's going to go here. If he did this or that, he's going to go here. So watching Edmonds, watching Marcus and those guys, that helped me along because, man, if not, it would have been a tough time. I had the mentality to go in there and do it. It was just, man, let me get a little bit more body armor and get myself prepared to do this a little bit better. So it was, man, those guys, I knew about them, and those guys were the men, because I remember watching when I was in Virginia Beach. I didn't know too much about Virginia Tech because down there it seemed like there was a lot of UVA all the time.
Well, yeah, UVA was the premier program. Our group kind of changed the tone, and we brought that legacy to Virginia Tech, and we kind of overtook the state and the rest is history. But yeah, you're right, because that was the same thing for me growing up in the 7-5.
Yeah, and then when we moved up to Goodview, my mom was like, "Well, your cousin plays for Virginia Tech," and I was like, I said, "Where's Virginia Tech?" And so then I start watching, Bernard Basham is my cousin.
That's right. Yeah.
So all those guys. That's when I started really watching, and then started to see a little. I started getting a little bit more interested as it went along, and so that's kind of how it came about. It's like, all right, Virginia Tech is. My cousin played here, I'm gonna start watching these guys and start getting away from the UVA part. So, but it was it. I felt like when I came in the door, we had a good foundation. You had, like you said, Brian Edmonds and Marcus Parker, and you had Ken Oxendine. Those are guys we looked up to, and we were just trying to keep it rolling and continue to build. Because at one time, we laugh about it. We used to have our locker room wrestling matches and stuff like that. And one time, the running back group was one of the biggest groups in the locker room.
Yeah.
I mean, so you look at the offensive line group, and then you had running backs is right there. We had a bunch of guys in that meeting room, man. It was crazy.
A lot of y'all. Yeah. I used to love watching y'all in the spring, or even during the season before the game, doing the Bull in the Ring. You guys were doing it, man. And Coach Hite, man, he recruited me, and even now I still love him. And he always seemed like the coolest coach in the room, man. What was it like playing for Coach Hite, Coach Bustle's offense, and just those guys during that time? I mentioned the fullback because when people go back, you got to YouTube it now or blow off that VHS tape and watch us. But you used to get those dive plays, bro, and just take them. And Bustle's offense, man, it was interesting because what I loved about his offense and with the fullback is it was a threat either way, because he had those double screens where you could get it or Shyrone could get it. Lamont Peggy, same thing with Poons and Marcus and Ox and all those guys. And you had Coach Hite, who was a great coach, but he also could get the best out of y'all without going overboard with screaming. So talk about Bustle and Coach Hite and just playing for those guys and the offense when you were featured in at times.
Man, well, Coach Hite to me was like a father figure when I got there to Tech, because, man, he explained everything really well. He really looked after us in practice. So everybody used to get mad because we spend those individual periods doing steps and one-handed catches, but Coach Hite was saying that, hey, look, he's like, I'm going to take care of you guys. You just make sure you give me 15, 20 yards after point of contact. Just if you get hit in practice, you keep running and score, and that's the way you kind of pay me back. I'm gonna look out for you guys and take care of your body, because I know we're getting banged up, but you just give me extra 15 yards after the run. And so that was the deal. And then in the games, he knew what to say to us, and I felt like he told us the truth. You know, no matter what team we played, you know, we tried to respect every opponent, and we did. But Coach Hite told us the truth. In the meeting room, it was like, hey, look, I know we got to look out for this, but if we do this, we're going to run over this team. And so, you know, we didn't go in to the game thinking that, you know, this is the giant and they're going to just demolish us. We went into the game thinking like, they're going to have to stop us. You know, if we get this push and we get this running game going, they can't stop us. We're going to be able to do whatever we want. It's going to open up the whole offense. And that's what I loved about him. And then on top of it, you know, he's always cracking jokes and keeping it light. So
always cracking jokes,
yeah,
roasting people.
I'm telling you. So, I mean, with that part of it, it made it easier for us. And then we weren't tense. We weren't uptight. We just kind of rolled with it. And then as far as Coach Bustle, I was on Facebook with him the other day because we were talking about how nobody knew that I wore glasses because I hated wearing them. and so I wouldn't wear my glasses. And you know, when Mike got there, Mike would throw the ball like he was trying to knock me down.
Yeah, Mike,
it was, and I couldn't catch the ball because I couldn't see it. And so I would see it leave Mike's hand, and then next thing you know, it'd be right in my face mask. It was like a brown blur, and then right when it got up to me, it hit me, and I dropped the ball. Well, Coach Bustle didn't like that, and he would keep me out there practice, and I swear he would throw 100 passes right at my head every day to make me get my hands up to catch it. So Coach Hite, he said, man, what is going on? How come you can't catch this ball? And I was like, Coach, I can't see it. You know, I just can't see the ball. And so basically Coach Hite set up an appointment. I had to go get glasses, contacts, and that's how I ended up catching the ball. And so, but Coach Bustle always said this right thing to me to kind of keep me going. Like when they gave me my scholarship, he says, you know, we can take the scholarship back at any time, right? He said, so you better, yeah, he said, so you better keep working and keep working. I was like, well, Coach, I said, you can't have this thing back. I said, I worked too hard to get it. So he was always kind of pushing, and I really enjoyed playing for him, and he did. They would go out and tell me, like, hey, look, we're going to try to incorporate this fullback a little bit more to try to get you involved a little bit more. And I was totally fine with that. You know, I didn't have to have the ball 20, 30 times a game. Man, throw me a bone every now and then, and that's all I needed. Whatever I needed to do to help out, that's what I was happy with. So
you know, and that I forgot to mention another guy who was physical and who fit that blue collar Stallions was Wayne Ward. You know, you and Wayne and all you guys were so physical, man. And I mentioned how I loved playing with you those few years we played together at Tech. And what I remember watching film when you were reviewing it, how you would just run through people. But what also, we joked about it earlier, but you mentioned at your high school having the 2 carries for 140 yards. But you did make that dive play money. Like you and Poons and guys after you guys, you would get that dive play and you would just go 40, 50 yards. My favorite memory, and I'm going to ask you yours, but my favorite memory, even though it's a painful one because we shouldn't have lost that Syracuse game, because we win that game, we go to the Orange Bowl, we win the Big East. But that game was the game you took off. I remember I was blocking, and I just felt you go past me, and I look up, and you're going, what was it, 70-something yards?
Yeah.
You had one shoe on. So you hit that jump with one shoe on, and, you know, we're up 21-2 or something like that. And I just remember, you know, you just being so dynamic when you got it. But that's my favorite memory. What is yours when you talk about games? Maybe not a run, or maybe it was you just going against a really great Mike linebacker. For you, what are some of your favorite memories and games that stand out?
Man, we played Clemson in the Gator Bowl, and they had the linebacker Keith Adams. And man, I tell you what, I always felt like we played against some really good linebackers, and Keith Adams was probably my favorite guy to play against because it was like I couldn't slow him down or make him think. And I can make a linebacker think a little bit just by how I would try to attack him. Or, I might try to hit him hard on the first play, and then the second play I'll chop him up just to make him think about his legs a little bit. It didn't matter what I did to keep Adams. He was coming the same way every time. and after every hit, he would get up. He's like, good hit, 27. Then he popped me on my helmet and walked back to the huddle. And I'm like, I was like, man, so it was always like a great respect with him just because he went all out every play. And he didn't care if I was going to chop him or hit him up high or anything. He was coming full tilt, and he didn't talk any junk. He just went back to the huddle like nothing was going on. It was like, let's go to the next play. And so I really enjoyed that. And even on top of like scoring a touchdown or whatever, that's what I remember. Keith Adams, man. He's just seemed like a really good guy, and it was a hard-nosed player, and that was a good deal. But as far as you talk about scoring touchdowns and stuff, man, we look at my little boy watches. He started in 1998 and went all the way through my whole college career on YouTube.
Really?
And so, yeah, he sits there and watches them every day, just watches games. But when he started on the 98 season, my oldest daughter figured out something. She's like, you only score on that one side. And I said, that's Dwight Vick and Derek Smith's side. I said, that was the side I scored on. I don't think I scored on the right side until years after.
Yes.
So at least my oldest daughter realized that that's what I was scored on. I was scored on the left-hand side. I was like, oh. I said, that's Big Vic and Derek Smith over there.
No question, man. Yeah. We love blocking for you, man.
Oh man, it was fun, man. I tell you what, I wasn't vocal, but I was vocal on the field. I was a different person on the field.
Oh, let's talk about that because I remember, I used to joke you, not in a bad way, but in the training room, in the locker room, in front of Shyrone and all you guys and Shug, a.k.a. Eric Mitchell, all of us. And I would be like, y'all see Jerry, you would do the pose and flex to the sky. And I remember you first did, and I was like, yo, what is going on here? Because off the field, man, going to class, going to the weight room, you just chilling, smiling, doing your job, no problems, enjoying life. But on that field, man, you had that alter ego, man.
Man, I tell you what, and it's always been like that. I think my mom, she put me in football to kind of make me social because she said when I was younger, she's like, first of all, they said I was the meanest kid ever. So, yeah, so it was like, now I hear all these stories from until I was like 5 years old. She said I was the worst kid acting ever. So she said she was trying to figure out a way to get me to be involved and be social. So she put me in football. And so I played football to kind of learn how to do teamwork and all that other stuff and be social. And then off the field, I mean, I read books and fished and did all this other stuff, and it was always solo. I was always by myself. And so, and I try to tell, like, even my former teammates now, man, if I didn't hang with you, it's not because I didn't want to hang with you. It's because, man, I want to go fishing. I want to go, I want to sit down and watch a movie. Like, that's just how it was. And I love all you guys. And so when I was on the football field, it was a totally different person. And because that was my chance to be somebody else because of how, I ain't gonna say I wasn't a social, I just was off to myself a lot, but that's why I was like that. I mean, my cousin's husband played for JMU and he was a defensive back. Well, I hit him on the sideline and knocked him over. And I didn't know who he was at first. And then after the game, my cousin was like, oh, my boyfriend was such and such. And I was like, well, can you apologize to him? I hit him. And I said some stuff that I probably shouldn't have said. And so, but we all buddies and everything. After that, I was like, man, I just play a lot different from how I am off the field. And that was the deal, man. But, it wasn't because I was snobby or didn't want to talk to you. It was just because that's how I was off the field. I was a quiet person.
No question. And I love that. I think there are a few guys I played with or played against that was like that. Like they're a different person. And another game I mentioned, and even though it was that 98 year, we had 3 painful losses.
Oh yeah.
But I remember going back, and it took me a long time to go back and watch that UVA Tech game in 98. We were up 29-7. Should have blew them out. But I remember listening to the TV copy of it, the broadcast, and they said your name. I forgot the guy's name, but they were talking about how you were going right at Wally Rayner. You were going at him. And Wally Rayner was a dog for UVA. I mean, he was one of the best to play at UVA at that Mike linebacker. And you were going at him. And I just enjoy seeing you do that. And that's just another compliment to how you could just turn it on when it came, to the lights being on in game time and being physical. But take me back to that following year when you guys come back and you learn from the shortcomings and life lessons and tough losses we had in 98. And then y'all put together that national championship run where y'all just fell short to Florida State. But I always ask guys on that team, Andre Davis and guys like that, coming into that season, did you and Shy and Drake Kendrick, did all you guys know that, you know what, we got Mike, but, we got everybody back because you had Corey Moore, Engelberger, Carl Bradley. It was just so many great players on that team. Did you know after that JMU blowout, it was one of those things where as the season progressed, you were like, you know what, we can do this thing?
Yeah, it just kept you kind of look at it week to week, and we were winning, and then it was kind of like high school, Vic, where we talked about just playing. That's how it was. We were just playing and practicing hard, getting our lifting on and everything, and it just kind of gradually kept falling into place for us. And so we weren't. I felt like the confidence on the team, and I tell people this all the time. I just felt like it didn't matter who we were playing. We felt like we can beat them, we can dominate them, and so it was games where even if it was a tight game, there was games there where we just felt like, man, we're going to win. Let's just go ahead and finish these guys off, because you can tell, and Coach Gentry is a big part of my life even now, but more so then. We were so prepared and we were so confident, and we practiced. We had the same routine every week with Coach Beamer. We just felt like, man, let's just keep playing, and we'll be able to do this thing. And that's how it was. I couldn't see any other. I couldn't see it playing out any other way. I couldn't see anybody just dominating us and beating us, because we didn't care. We were going to go in, and Clemson coming into the house and they talking about this and that, and Nick Corey went off on that. The defense went out, and I mean, it was just, I couldn't see anybody beating us because of the confidence level and how we prepared each week, and that's a big thing. And Coach Beamer already said, if you do the little things right, the big things will come. We were doing that every week, and plus on top of it, the camaraderie on the team. You didn't have cliques, you might have had some guys hanging, but most of the time on the weekends, we were all hanging together. And so if you go somewhere, it might be 50, 60 football players in that spot. And because we did everything together, and that's how it was. And we talked about the brotherhood, man, that was your family right there. And so when it came down time to get down on the field, everybody was playing for each other. And I just felt like there was no way it was going to be any other turnout besides how it went that year.
Yeah, man, and you definitely had a brotherhood with all those guys, and we didn't mention everybody. It would be difficult, but you could see that on the field. Even if I had not played with you guys, people that know the game, even observers and fans, you can see energy and camaraderie come through the screen, and it was definitely prevalent with that 99 team. I want to talk about Gentry, because you said something that resonated with me about Coach Gentry, because I feel the same way about him, man. Like, I'm at my desk right now, and I don't know where it's at, but I know it's here because I was just looking through it. But my son and daughter ain't ready for that book yet. I still have the binder, and I remember those 5 years for me at Virginia Tech, the phases, running the stadium steps with the vest. And I remember how Gentry was just very real with us, but he helped us become men. And it's not just about the personal records and the benching. It was more so about he pushed us to learn how to push ourselves. We thought we couldn't give anymore, man. And I still love him to this day because the life lessons I still carry, and just that mental aspect, even stuff like bar hang.
Right.
When you chalk up and get on the bar, you better get with the right group, though.
That's right.
You talk about Coach Gentry, man, because eventually you became a strength coach with him, and you had a similar impact on the guys that you coached in that aspect. But talk about his legacy and his impact on you.
Well, Coach Gentry, Dwight, all my strength coming in high school was from the farm. I didn't touch a weight. So, it was throwing hay bales and lifting sacks of feed and stuff like that. But when I got to Virginia Tech, Coach Gentry talked to all the freshmen, and we were sitting there, and I just remember him saying, I just remember him talking about the football field. He was like, the only way to the football field is through me. And when he said that, I was like, man, I better tighten up here, because I never really lifted weights before. And so when he said that, I was like, then I'm going to be with this guy. I'm going to hang with this guy, because this is the only way to do it. And he had such a way of, he was intimidating. he was strong. He had the big mustache. He didn't say a lot, but he held us accountable. And then he made us police ourselves and make sure everybody else was holding everybody else accountable. But if we didn't do it the right thing, then he'll tighten up on us. And so that's what I was used to anyway. My mom was my Coach Gentry all the way through school as far as academic part of it. But Coach Gentry, man, he knew how to push and talk to you and make you do things that you didn't think you could do. And so, you talked about the man makers, the phases and all this stuff, but I remember Coach Gentry walked in one day and he says, I know you have this for your man makers, but do you think you can do this? And nobody in their right mind, if they know Coach Gentry, are you going to say no to him? Yeah. And so he asked me, could I do 315 for 2 sets of 20 on squat? And I said, yes, sir. I could do it. And I did it. Now,
oh my goodness.
2 of my other boys, Wayne Ward and Wayne Briggs, they tried it too, but Wayne Ward passed out. And then Wayne Briggs busted a blood vessel in his eye. And I said, man, they went first and I went. I was like, man, I got to get this, because I'm not letting Coach Gentry down. And so he had a way of motivating you, just saying a few things to you. And then when it came time to, if it got really hard and you had some adversity, he would remind you, hey, you ran this stuff before. You've done this stuff before, so this is not going to be anything to you. And so that's how it kind of clicked and made it better for me and the rest of the brothers doing it, because, man, who in the world could say, hey, look, we ran a phase. This fourth quarter ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? It
no
just
question.
If you saw the opponent over there with their hands on their knees and they're bending over, and we're standing up looking at them like, what the crap did they do this summer? They didn't do anything. They didn't do what we did. So that made it a lot easier. And then as far as getting into the career of strength and conditioning, I had a lot of success in the weight room coming up through Tech as far as changing my body. I went from 180 pounds, and then my senior year I weighed in at 220. And so that's still 220 still wasn't an ideal weight for a fullback. But, man, I was just as strong. It got to the point where, I was getting the super iron for the linemen, because that's what I was pushing myself.
I remember.
Yeah, so it's just like, man, Coach Gentry pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And then when it came down to it, and when I felt like football was over, he called me and asked me to be a strength coach. And, man, I jumped at it, because I felt like, man, that's what I'm made for. That's what I was meant to do. And this how I can help the next crew to come through Virginia Tech. And so it did. He had a big influence on me on that deal. And it was hard for me, you know, I would get job offers when I was working for Coach Gentry, and I turned them down. You know, and to be a head strength coach, I turned them down because, man, Coach Gentry, we had a thing going there, man. It was just working, and all the guys are getting stronger. I just felt like, man, is no way I can leave these guys because we're helping them. We're continuing to make these guys better. And so that was a big thing, man. And it was hard for me to leave Coach Gentry too. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how he was still getting it there. So,
you know, it's interesting too, because I'm glad you sharing these things and these memories and the legacy and the impact you had on us. Because I know it's a new regime at Tech now, a new staff, which is that's fine. That happens. Change is inevitable. But at the same time, when you think about the ACC and Big East championships and all the great players, and even the guys that were preferred walk-ons like yourself who became great players, a lot of Tech's success, we mentioned the Stein Springs, the Bustles, the Fosters, the T. Grays, and the West and the Whammies, and so many guys, man, Coach Hite and Grimes. But Gentry is the foundation. He's the battery. He's the behind the scenes guy, like a producer. Right. You hear the song and wow, this is a classic, #1 on the charts, but the producer behind it, he was very important and integral in the success. And the coaches know that. I'm just talking about the fans, because strength coaches at that time, you had the guy in Nebraska and a few other guys. But then all of a sudden, Coach Gentry was on the cover of magazines, and there were schools, as you know, other universities sending their coaching staff and their strength coaching staffs to come to Virginia Tech to see what we were doing in the offseason. It was almost like he gave away that matrix pill, that blueprint, on how we became so physical, especially during that era of football, man.
Right. And if you look at it, Coach Gentry, he didn't have a flashy program. So, because that's what people want to see now, is as far as, if you look at, I look at a lot of like Instagram and Twitter videos and stuff like that. A lot of it's flashy. And man, he just says, Coach Gentry, every year in and year out, when I was there, he was like, man, let's keep the meat and potatoes the same. We'll sprinkle a few new ingredients, spices in. And I was like, Coach, that's fine with me. I said, it's been working all this time. Let's do it. And so it was always, keep it the same. Don't change it. Let's build a base strength for him. And then he gave me some free range on the speed development and stuff like that. But I mean, it was a lot of stuff that it wasn't crazy. It wasn't flashy, and he didn't want any recognition for it anyway. He just wanted to build the program.
People don't realize, man, we were there when it was in transition, when the Merriman Center was built and all this stuff. The late 90s was coming in early 2000s, and Tech was, because of bowl wins and revenue, the program was growing. And I remember that. I think you were there. I know Lamont Pegues was there, and I remember he had transferred from Clemson, and we had that old weight room on the first floor, and we were getting that new one being built. And I remember we had to lift outside, like we went to the longest yard. We were lifting outside in 90-degree heat. The bar, like shirts off. You remember that?
That was the year before, because I was in Jamerson, and because that Jamerson weight room was hot. And, oh, God almighty, that was a scorcher in
and
there.
We were outside lifting, and I remember Lamont was like, is it always like this? And I said, man, we just make do. We didn't understand and know about anything that was sexy and flashy. And that's the way it was, that grit and grimy mindset that we had that helped, translate to that physical play on the field. And Gentry, I remember he kept us so humble. It didn't matter if you were a Heisman candidate or all-conference candidate or you were third string. He kept everybody focused and humble. I remember when the Merriman Center was built, and we were in the room where we used to do the conditioning, the speed and conditioning room, and the vert and all of that. And Gentry if he turned down the radio or the music, you knew there was something coming. And he said, men, everybody over here. And we were in that room, and he was talking. He said, because everybody was excited because we had the new meeting rooms and facilities and everything like that. And he said, all this stuff is nice. I'm paraphrasing. He said, but it doesn't mean a hill of beans if you don't push yourself today, man. And
Mm-hmm.
it was those little quick sayings and those
Mm-hmm.
comments that kept us grounded. I remember, on Sundays after games, people don't realize we had to do conditioning and lift.
Yeah.
After a game on Sunday, and I was a redshirt junior or senior, and he came up to me, and I'm doing my front squats, and he would just say stuff like, "You're having a good workout. I think you can do more."
Yeah.
And that was his way of saying, "Add another plate."
Right. Right.
So when you became the strength and conditioning coach along with him, what do you remember about some of the players you coached? You said he gave you free reign, and eventually you became your own man and did your own thing with his influence on you. Were there some guys that you remember coaching, that like some freak athletes that you remember seeing or that you enjoyed coaching?
Yeah. I was blessed to be around those. I always say, like, I know some strength coaches that try to take credit for certain things, and I just remember just being in just being in the room with like Cam Chancellor and stuff, how they could take over the weight room. And Cam, it was real funny with Cam. Cam was my wife knew Cam since he was a little one, because I think it was somehow I think the mom, Cam's mom, and one of her family, they knew each other, so they always hung together when Cam was little. And when he came to the Virginia Tech, I just remember how he came in, he worked hard, and we talked about the family, like the link and everything. And it was like, if I needed something done, Cam would make sure it got done. And so I was pretty much Coach Gentry and Keith Short would take the O-line, D-line guys and train them, while I'll keep the skill guys, and I'll keep like one of the interns with me, and we'll train those guys. Well, we had one day where I had some wide receivers that didn't want to lift. So they were trying to figure out ways to get around.
Oh,
And
always
Cam was, oh man, but Cam just kind of looked, and he was like, "Hey, coach," he's like, "I see such and such has been walking around the weight room the whole time." And I was like, "All right, man, I'll bring them up." So I brought the whole group up. And then Cam was like, "Hey, if y'all got an issue with lifting weights, y'all need to come talk to me afterwards." and then after that, it completely changed. The guys had traded hard. I was like, man, but just seeing that, how, when I look at strength conditioning as, how can everybody in the country is going to say, "Hey, look, I'm going to get your kids bigger and stronger and faster." Mm-hmm. Everybody, no matter what. But with me, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to do that regardless, because that's our job. But I'm trying to figure out, how can I make that young man into a man before he leaves? Mm-hmm. And so seeing stuff like that is like, all right, this kid right here, Cam, took some responsibility to make sure his teammates are working as well. And that made me feel much better than seeing somebody bench press 450 pounds. And so I'm like, man, he's growing up. And so that's what I felt like my position was, on top of being a strength coach, was how can I help them grow as a person, and how can they grow into a man? And so that's always been my deal. And Coach Gentry helped me, put that part into my part of being a strength and conditioning coach. So
yeah, when you mentioned too, and I didn't touch on, but you mentioned, after your career was over, I do want to ask you, just for the sake of this interview, after you were done at Tech, what happened? Tryouts, draft, talk about, your pro career, and, how did that go?
I got drafted in the 7th round to the Buffalo Bills. And so, to be honest, it was a total shock, just because of when you think about it, a 5'8", 220-pound fullback. I was thinking, all right, I might get a shot, just because I felt like I did. I thought I had a pretty good career at Tech. I might get a shot. I was actually taking my sister, and with our family, it was her birthday. So we were at a restaurant, and I was coming back up Roanoke, and I got a phone call from the Bills, and that's when they drafted me. So I was driving in my car, and they drafted me, and I did. I went through the whole deal as far as the preseason and all that stuff, and made it all the way to the end. And I thought it was the final cut, but they had to cut 10 more guys. And then I was in that 10 guys that they cut. So to me, I didn't enjoy it at all, to be honest. And it wasn't the same. I guess I was used to family, and I
Oh, a
felt
lot
like
of
it
guys say
wasn't.
that. A lot of guys
Yeah.
say that. A lot of guys I talk to. Yeah.
But it didn't feel like that. And to be honest, like every morning I woke up and I had my bags packed, and I made it all the way through camp. I would be sitting up at 5:30 in the morning, fully dressed with my bags packed. And when I went through camp and we broke camp and they sent us home, I was like, doggone, I'm gonna make this team. So they actually called me right before I came back and cut me then. But I was done with it out there. I was like, man, you know what? I don't think this is for me. And it truly felt that. And I tried out, I think I had 2 more tryouts, and then the Bills allocated me to NFL Europe, but then I failed the physical. And so once that happened, I was completely done. I was like, all right, I don't want to be a guy that tries for 2 and 3 years. I wanted to give myself a year. If it don't work out in that year, that's it. Start my career. So that's how it ended up happening. I was actually helping my stepdad with his business, and Coach Gentry called me, and I just dropped a crew of guys off for work, and I was in the work truck, and Coach Gentry called me and asked me about being an intern at Tech. So that's how I got into it, man. I started my career that way.
So let's talk about that. Just a few more questions. I do want to ask you about, today's athlete. You mentioned Cam, but even Cam Chancellor now is considered, an older player. Well, he doesn't anymore. But you were there when Fuente and the new AD, the whole transition took place from the Beamer and the new era. And I talked to a lot of former players, not just at Tech, but at UVA, Maryland, Howard, a lot of guys, older heads our age. And they talk about, everyone has a different opinion about today's athlete. Do you think it's changed to the point that today's athlete is so different? Are they softer, or are they entitled, or is it just one of those things where it's just the relationships are what they are and every generation is different, and these kids still need to be coached and challenged, but you just have to know how to talk to them? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, it's the athlete. It's different, but with us, we didn't have anything, so we had to work for everything. It's a lot now. It has to be done. It seems like more self promotion, as far as the recruiting part of it. Sometimes I hear all of it. Sometimes the high school coaches don't know the recruiting process, and so they're waiting too long to get the kids involved with the recruiting process. So the parents are taking it upon their hands to get the kids out there. And so the kids, they're jumping right along into it too. They're social media. They have to promote themselves because they may not be getting it at their schools. And so it's different in that sense. And then on top of it, I mean, if you look at the schools now, they don't have a Jamerson weight room like we had. All the schools are kind of built up now. It's an arms race. They have to get a better weight room. They have to get a better locker room. They have to get better looking meeting rooms. So the kids don't have to work for anything. They basically have to come in and play, and that's it, and produce. So I can't say that it's a different athlete, because there's some athletes out here that are straight up ballers and don't know anything else but to work and grind and get it out there. But it's a whole different ball game from when we were in school, and a lot of people get upset over it about, oh man, these kids don't have to work for anything anymore. But doggone, the foundation's already laid. Now it's just, you're just building on top of that foundation, and it's turning into where we had a little brick building. Now it's a skyscraper. It's just everything. The foundation's laid, and the kids, they're just going in the door and trying to make a name for themselves now, because you don't know if the kid's going to be there, 3 years and out, or going to be there the whole career or whatever.
Or
So
into the transfer portal after a
yeah,
loss.
yeah. So yeah, it's a different monster now, and it's changing everywhere. I mean, I still talk to a lot of my guys that are in strength conditioning, so it's changing everywhere as far as the athlete and on how they are coming in the door. Some of these kids are, I mean, what I'm doing now, I'm training these kids that are going to the next level to play college ball. So now they're doing the strength conditioning now versus when I came to Virginia Tech to learn how to lift weights.
Well, yeah,
You know,
talk about that. That was my next question. What are you
mm-hmm,
doing right now? Because I know when change came in, Gentry
mm-hmm,
retired. You moved on from Tech.
mm-hmm.
What are you doing now? Tell everybody what you're doing now.
So I started my own training business here in Roanoke, and started just training athletes. My wife and we have 5 children. So I looked at what we have. 4 of them are girls. I got the little boy,
Mm-hmm.
but my daughters at the school, they haven't lifted weights at their high school, and I was like, man, that's an issue. So especially the female athlete, I think they need to train. So I started training athletes, and my boy is the youngest that trains. He's 6 years old now, but he's the youngest that trains, and I train executives always 50, 60 years old. So I came here to start something different, to try to change how our area is looked at as far as recruiting, and try to better the area as far as what's coming out of here now. If you're talking about recruiting, we're talking about 757, Richmond, and Northern Virginia, and very much so. 757 and Richmond and all those, they have the athletes here. We have some athletes here, but we're just trying to get them out there. And so I have a business partner that was actually an intern for us at Virginia Tech. I got with Shannon Taylor here in Roanoke, and
Shannon, my
yeah,
God,
man, I tell you what, man, I love him to death because he sees some of these kids, and what I've done is I go to almost every home game at my high school just to kind of show my support for the high school. But when they have away games, I go around the community and go to different high school games just to see who's out there and who can I help. And so, and like I said, I keep up with these guys and try to see what their grades look like and all this other good stuff, and see what the home life is like, and try to just encourage them to keep going, because, man, there's some talent around here. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to help better the area and get these kids out here and get them going. So it's a great deal. Shannon, like I said, Shannon does a great job as far as, seeing the talent and say, hey, look, Jarrett, this guy needs help. Can you train him? And I get him out here, and that's when I start talking to him. It's like, all right, where's your head at? Let's look at these grades. What can we do to get your grades better? Let's get you linked up with these people. And, so I just try to help out in that sense, to help these kids out.
Yeah, Shannon is a great guy. It's funny, man. I came across 2 weeks ago one of his old games when he played Stonewall High School, which is now called Unity Reed High School. It's where my wife went, and Shannon was the quarterback for Fleming, and he was so big at quarterback. But what's crazy is I played against Shannon at UVA when I was at Tech, and he was a defensive tackle, a defensive end. He's always been big, strong, and physical. But I have been keeping up with his work on Facebook and Twitter, and you both, and I didn't even know you guys were connected. I didn't even put two together, and I see his work he's doing in the community with those high school prospects, man. So how can people in that area that watch this, how can they get in touch with you and Shannon, or what's the website or phone number or whatever?
Well, we have my website is ironpalace.com, and so you can, everything's linked onto my Facebook, so you can just connect on Jarrett Ferguson on Facebook, and then I have all my stuff linked up on there as far as Twitter and all that other stuff. But we named it, my business partner, excuse me, Ryan Crush. He's we named it the Iron Palace after Virginia Tech's weight room, just to kind of honor Coach Gentry and stuff like that. We have a picture of Coach Gentry in there, and we kind of we model it the same way as far as how we train these athletes. And so you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, stuff like that. I'm still trying to learn how to use all that stuff, Dwight. So that's another thing I picked up from Coach Gentry, is not using the technology as much, but it just kind of, we just try to get out there and help these kids out as much as we can. And we just enjoying life, man. It's, that was a leap of faith, leaving Virginia Tech and coming to start my own deal. And man, I'll tell you what, I've been able to spend more time with my family. We just, my oldest daughter's about to be a senior.
Oh my goodness.
And then my baby girl is going to pre-K. So it's going to be a lot of fun next year. I have one in kindergarten and one in going to college after this school year. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, you and your wife are great people and great parents, man. You've got a beautiful family, man. Your sister, shout out to her. I love her to death too. Beautiful family, man. You guys are great people. And
man.
I know your son and even your daughters, especially your son, I know he's going to be an animal, whatever he does. Soccer, baseball, wrestling, football. I'm telling you, because he got you 24/7. Oh my goodness.
And look, Dwight, he is a boy. Like if they can be jumped off of or broken some type of way, he's gonna figure out how to do it. And but I love him because he has that fight already. Like I'm trying to teach him about sportsmanship now, because unfortunately they watch YouTube and watch all this stuff. So it's like, hey, look, man, I know he's in this area, he's better than a lot of the kids, and he might be younger than them, but he doesn't know how to handle it yet. Like he wants to shoot the ball every time he touches it. He wants the ball every time in football. I was like, man, you got to let these kids have a chance. So I try to coach him up as much as I can, and it's great, man, because I'm enjoying watching him. Like he's having a great time and he's playing, and like I said, I get to see it,
Yeah, man. It's a blessing, man, and you definitely are blessed. So with that being said, this is the last part of our show. I let my guests share their final thoughts, man. So, if you were talking to an up and coming young Jarrett Ferguson or a group of kids that want to pursue your career or just what are some motivational thoughts or inspirational words you just want to tell people in general? You have shown throughout your career and your journey, your personal and professional journey, that you're resilient, that you're able to overcome things, that you're physical, but you're not only just a physical person with your lifting and strength and conditioning, but you also have the mental strength and fortitude that's allowed you to be a great father, a professional, and leader. What are some of the things that you want to tell people watching this video that they should live by if they want to aspire and achieve their goals and accomplish things that they're set forth?
Well, man, I try to enjoy every day, and I tell people, and I tell my family this, try to love everybody, no matter what their beliefs are, affiliations or anything. Love everybody and get along with everybody, and then put the work in. Growing up here, nothing was given to us. We had to work for it, and so I learned the value of $1 and how to work for it and all that stuff up here. And I just want to tell young people, like, don't think there's just going to be handed to you. Like, somebody's not going to just hand it to you. If they allow you to have an opportunity, take advantage of it and work your tail off, and then be good with everybody that you're working with, because you never know in a million years if that person is going to need you or you need them down the line. But and that's a big thing. If you look at, we were all friends with people from UVA, but we played football like we were trying to kill them.
Yes.
And now I'm linked up with Shannon Taylor, and we're buddies. We're that's our brotherhood right now, because we're linked up, and man, and we were rivals. And so you gotta make sure you're loving and caring for everybody and working your tail off to get to that next step. And then you gotta have faith. It's not everything is gonna be easy, and not everything is gonna go the way you want it to go. and you got to have faith to believe that it's going to work out the right way if I keep putting in the work and doing it. And so, and that's how I've been living. There's no way in the world I should have, people say, why'd you leave Tech? I'm like, look, that just wasn't in the cards anymore.
No question.
This is what's going on. And I went from making a whole lot of money a month every year to not making anything. And I'm not homeless, and I'm not hungry. I got some nice cars in my driveway, and it's all working out because I kept working, kept my head down, and kept going. And so I just that's what I wanted to kind of preach to these kids and stuff like that when we're doing it. Just keep rolling with it and do the best of your ability.
Yeah, man. Very true, man, and very inspiring. And I appreciate you, Jarrett, for jumping on, man. To this day, man, you're one of my favorite people. You got a great family, and you're a great leader. And I support everything you are doing, as well as Shannon. And I thank you for jumping on the Legacy Spotlight, man. And for those that are watching, thank you for supporting Vicktory Life and the things that we're doing in the community. And if you're in the Roanoke area and you got a prospect, male or female, check out Jarrett Ferguson's program along with Shannon Taylor. And like I say, every show, every time we do this, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you leave a positive impact and a great legacy. Thank you, Jarrett.
All right, bro. Love you.
Love you too, man. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right.